Good morning. It's March 22nd. Ron and I are here today to discuss several topics with you. I have a license agreement with Ron to utilize his materials in this manner, and that license agreement requires me to share this notice with you. I do have his written permission to utilize it. Here's our standard disclaimer, which is for us, all of us. It protects us from misunderstanding what's going on. We're not giving any advice today. Today is for educational and informational purposes only. And you alone are responsible for how you evaluate and utilize the information that you learned today. So we've got three things to talk about. First thing we're going to talk about is Monty got a new tool, and we've named it Monty. Ron's going to talk about the current vision status, and then he'll go through the market forecast. So you say, what is Monty? Monty is Money Tree Vision's oracle for navigating trades year-round. It is our new AI-driven tool that we use to forecast the market. We also are using it to power the new algorithm that we've written for Outlook. So whenever we get to the charts a little bit later in the presentation today, as well as the charts that you're going to be seeing and you have been seeing in the trade alert, we are now powering those things through Monty. And we've been back testing it and checking it out, and it's pretty accurate. And so we're pretty excited about it. This gives us a chance to tap into some of the new technologies that are out there for computers, machine learning, for example, deep learning. There's the ability to look and find patterns and then forecast the future from there. And so we've been experimenting with several different of these tools, and we've come up with one that we think is unique for us. It's not something that's publicly out there. It's something that Ron and I have developed, and that's what we're using now for our forecasting tools as well as for Outlook. And with that, Ron, take it away.
Okay. Well, Visions, we've made significant progress in updating our data sources. So, the current vision is F. That's on. That's basically it. Most people are on from the website, but we've been testing G. Number of people have been testing. It fixes some additional trade planner and the stock explorer. So that has been fixed in G. We haven't officially released G because people have different versions of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to a new version H that basically has all of the fixes in it, so that I didn't want everybody to be updating on a continuous basis. I mean, there's some little idiosyncrasies that some people run into. There are ways around it where you just continue and everything, it either says it's a bad symbol or bad data. But I think I've got all of those things worked out now. And so H will be basically a cleanup of all the little things we found since we had to move to new data sites. That's been the big issue of finding those sites that have the right data, and that data is not, I'll call the format is not changing continuously. There are, a few wrinkles once in a while with Yahoo, but slowly working my way through it. So I want to thank everybody for their patience, and I think H will basically clean everything up. So I'm going to put that out on the website either today or tomorrow, just to make sure I have all the other little things hooked together for H. So that's the current status. So you should be watching for the. Tommy will put out a email, let everybody know when H has been posted.
Can I ask a software question here?
Sure.
So I've got F installed, but I also have a lot of old versions installed. It doesn't seem to delete it. I think Tommy mentioned it to you, Ron, but I've got lots of old ones. It's been
When you
a
say old ones, on your desktop, you have old,
yeah, yeah. And
well, you can, I mean, take the two that you use. You either have Quick Start or the Visions latest, if it says 4.0 F,
mhm.
keep that shortcut. You can delete all the other ones. Just
Well, I
put
know
them
I
in.
can delete the shortcuts. The question is the software itself.
Well,
It's
the
it's
software,
not in the program list.
the only thing that might be there is the pointer, G or A, B,
Oh,
or C.
okay.
It's in your
That
folder.
that answers
You
my
can either
question.
leave it there, or if you know how to get to the folder, you can basically delete any Visions version 3.40 A, B, C, D, E, F. You can delete all of those.
Okay, and what folder are they in?
They're in the Visions V3 folder. So if you go to Drive C, you can go to the
Okay,
uh,
because
programs that are in the,
they're not in my program list when I go through the control panel.
So what Ron's talking about, I've
I
got
understand.
down here, I've got the File Explorer. So when you go there, it's
Under C. Okay, I'll
under
find
C, and then under Program Files x86, then there's that Visions
V3,
V3
right?
folder. And so what Ron's saying, I think I've got an example.
Right.
Down here, um,
got it.
yeah, you see I've got a A and a B. And
Mhm.
so I could delete all those if need be, but the shortcut, I'm running G, the shortcut under the properties. See, it points to the target, which is G.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So that clears that up for you then.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
see,
Just
the other
worried
thing
how
is
we're supposed
you
to
got to
run it.
realize when you reinstall, there are a lot of folders and files that you have created that that they're not going to be deleted. They're all a bunch of settings, they're old charts, they're things that you have, it's data.
Yeah,
And I'm not deleting that because you might want to go back and look at something that you had. So but
I understood that. I just thought we had to run the program twice to delete some of the old program,
yes, I know sometimes that
and it didn't
doesn't
seem to
it
work.
fails. I don't know why, but
All right.
but
Oh,
even if you long as the key is not to have any vision programs open.
okay.
The ones that are open will not be replaced. So I caution everybody, make sure look at your taskbar. If you got any visions programs open, you have to, close them because the update program will not overwrite them if they're open. And it doesn't tell you that. Sorry about that, but that's that's just the way it is. So and that's key because if there's some module that we fixed and it's open in the background, you really don't realize. You got to look at your tray at the bottom to see is there any vision programs open. If not, you've got to close them.
Let me ask you a quick question, Ron. If I were to rename my Visions 3.0 file something like Visions 3.0B, so that's not going to come in. If you install a new one, will it install a whole new Visions 3 file?
Yes. You'll
So
start over.
I can start clean by installing a new one
You
and
would
have
start
everything.
over, yeah. If you rename Visions V3 on Drive C under programs, right? If you rename that to something else, then when you do the install, it's going to start a whole new folder, V3 folder from scratch. So any chart settings are gone. I mean, there's
Well,
nothing there.
and more importantly, I would say any list that you've saved that's going to
They're gone. They're
In
not,
the
they're
old
not there.
folder.
They're not in a new install. There are,
be the new install.
there's some test lists, but there are no, you might have, a whole bunch of lists that you use. Okay.
Can I port them over from the old file?
Well,
Okay.
you can, but
There's a lot of them, I'm guessing.
we can help you do that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
All
in,
right.
they're in files. They have good names on them, like chart data. Or, options, but,
Or SMTM dot text, I think has your list of stock symbols that you've saved. And I think that's the right file, isn't it, Ron?
yes. mhm.
Show me the money. That's how I always remember that file. But so like Ron says, I mean, there's several files you got to go look for.
If you
And
do, if you want to, yeah.
if you're
Okay.
proficient in visions and you remember the old DOS days, figured I'd get a laugh from Bob Anderson on that, right? But
I remember a lot of old days for help.
yeah. But so if you can navigate the system well, then yes, we can find those files, help you move them over, copy them over.
Right, the symbol file there is, yeah, that's pretty easy to move. It's just a text file, so.
It tells you it's wiping off the old program when you install the new one. But all of the data on, like, I've got a list of 100 stocks that I update
Right,
regular stocks. When you put the new program, it's still there.
right, it saves it. It
Like
does
the
not
devil,
overwrite
I have
that.
to sit and plug in 100 ticker symbols again.
Yeah. So at least, yeah.
And it's worked out well. It has.
Okay.
It's a lot better than when we had dial-up phone service.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I knew I'd get a smile out of Ron.
Hey,
Those
I've
old,
been there.
yeah, I asked Ron, I said, Ron, why do you have all these birds chirping and
Yeah.
crickets and everything? He goes, that's so I know the modem is still transmitting.
Right, it's connected.
That's interesting.
This goes way back, AOL days.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
We took care of Gretchen. Got you, Gregory.
very good. Okay.
Okay. Back to the presentation. Okay. So that's the end of that. All right, Ron, you've got the next.
Okay, the forecast. Okay, let's go see what's happened here. This is the settings that we started out with in beginning of January. So 2025, interest rates flat. They're flat. Unemployment rate has been up a little bit. Price of oil is maybe kind of flat, but we think it's going to be down for the year. GDP growth rate flat. We're not seeing a strong economy yet. US dollar is stronger. Presidential year, first year of the term. Consumer sentiment flat, maybe down a little bit right now, but for the year flat. And then we have our movement on the Sedgwick chart from C to A to B. That's the cycle we're in. Suspecting to go up till about 2026 and then a turn. So these are the factors we started with, and
This is last year's chart.
right.
24.
One of the things we're doing, like Tommy said, taking my forecast program and redoing it because it's very difficult to make updates. And so we said, why don't we try what's happening in the industry with all the new technology? So there are some additional factors that we are being able to apply to the chart, like volatility, trends, and so forth. And so we said, let's see how well the forecast, would have come out last year in beginning of 2024 with the settings that we had for 2024, and that is the black line or the blue line. And our actual for the year is the black line, right? So you can see that our forecast did a very good job. I mean, trend-wise, a lot of volatility. So let's say, okay, that looks pretty good. If we start that as a base and move forward, what would 2025 look like with those settings? Here is 2025 and the actual. Look what's happening. The forecast, maybe we're lucky, but the forecast said we're going to have a big drop, okay, going into ending into March, April, and actual is right on top of it. But there's going to be a recovery. And so the going out into the future, we get into May and June, started, a new kind of uptrend. So this is the forecast we expect for 2025. And I don't know if you can't read really the settings there, but those are the settings that we picked for 2025.
Yeah. Interest rates were flat, unemployment up, oil prices down, GDP growth is flat, dollar stronger, first presidential year, consumer sentiment flat, and CAB for the Sedgwick chart. So that panel to the right side is the input panel. So as you can see, there's little arrows. So all of these are set up into a drop down menu, and you make the selections, and then you hit the generate forecast button, and out comes the chart. And then it's got a feature to where we can save the chart, because we need to save charts and post them into presentations and things like that. So that's what the tool, how it functions and what it takes.
Right. And the kind of, I think, Tommy, the plan is we want to try to get this onto a web page, right?
Right. We'd like to get this to a web page to where people can play with it, and that's the next step in the process of this tool, making it available to all of you as users. And then the next question, which nobody's asked, can you make this work with a stock? And the answer is yes. Right now, it still uses a lot of different programs. When you're running an individual stock, we've hard coded this program right now that you're looking at. This is a hard code for the S&P 500. So the input panel on the right that you see doesn't ask for a stock symbol, but we do have a model now that does ask for a stock symbol. And then it checks to see that the symbol is valid before it tries to interpolate all that stuff. But that is also currently in the works. It's kind of in a beta version right now. Have to manually create the data files before you run it. But our plan would be to automate that process, and then that we could roll that out to where you could have in essence, a stock forecast tool for the year, unique to that individual stock. But that's bigger plans, and that's down the road. Questions on the forecasting tool?
Can you do the NASDAQ as well?
I can do the NASDAQ as well. Do you track that a lot, Gregory?
I tend to watch the NASDAQ a fair amount, in addition to the S&P 500.
Okay. Maybe that's a chart that we ought to pull in. I haven't looked at it, so I know that it can be driven because it's got a symbol and it's got data files out
Right. Yeah. The key is the data file, and I'm sure the Dow 30 probably has, the same thing. So
several things. Maybe next month we'll look at the Dow and the NASDAQ.
it's a good way to validate what we're trying to achieve here, because, we haven't found anything out there where people are using this economic factors. Okay. This is key to, that's what drives the economy. Okay. And, if you adjust those, it affects this forecast significantly, different ones in different ways. And some offset each other. Interest rates go up, unemployment goes down. That's one offsets the other. But if their interest rates go up and unemployment goes up, that's a double up, okay? And that affects the economy. So there's, interactions that are, I mean, the permutations of this list, if you think about it, is big. And so there are a lot of things that, can happen. The one thing that, we have found is, okay, we did not, there are these external events. And I thought about it even when I was working on the tool before, is should we have something in there related to the world events? In other words, we're at war, we're not at war, was kind of my factors. And I thought, well, is that really, sometimes you're at war, the economy booms because unemployment goes up, and that, or goes down because there's so many jobs for war production. So I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but
Well,
there are some
trade tariffs is a type of war.
Oh, tariff now, yeah. So this is
It's a type of war.
uh
Well, when Ron talks about that factor, I think that gold, the price of gold should be a factor because it functions as a safe haven in turbulent times.
yeah, right. That is one thing. We don't have any metals in there. We have oil and as a factor. So, but yeah, that is something we can maybe add to that list if we feel it's an important factor. But this is a starting point, so we're gonna, I think, make a big improvement here of using. There's a lot of data out there now. Tommy has found out how to use AI to add to what's in the chart. So
That's awesome.
he's got some secret sauce. So we'll see how well we do on the actual, Tommy. Hopefully.
Yes, we'll see.
Have you heard of a company? It's on Long Island, at the eastern end of Long Island. It's called Renaissance Technologies.
No.
The person who started it was Jamie Simon. He was a mathematician, and ultimately he was out of Stony Brook as well. Renaissance Technologies essentially was one of the companies that put Trump in his first office. That's how large they are, and they have NDAs, so nobody's allowed to talk about them, and you won't hear anything about them. But there's a good book to read because Jamie Simons just died. And I think it's called Jamie Simons, The Man Who Solved the Market. And his intent more than 20 years ago was to essentially use what is now artificial intelligence to use the market factors to build a Renaissance Technologies. And it looks like he actually did that. All right, and this is many, many years ago, and you're starting to see the technology coming to the consumer level where we can start potentially doing it. And I'm awestruck that Tommy is ahead of a lot of people in attempting to do this, and kudos to him. But if you have a chance, if you're interested, take a look at the book. It said Jamie Simons, The Man Who Solved the Market. It said probably about 5 or 6 years old now.
Okay.
And he's dead, so it doesn't matter, I guess.
Okay,
All right. Thanks.
thanks.
So you got one last slide.
Right, the last slide here is outlook. So here's the S&P 500 and up to where it is. It's a big drop here in the last month, and now somewhat a turnaround. And the forecast suggests it's going to swing back up and oscillate there for get back to kind of where the peak was in 2024. So it's it's going to take a while. You see, our forecast says we're going to continually move up over time by the end of the year. So this is a short term. This is basically 50 days, 50 trading days, of where we see the market going now in the next 50 days. So
I like it's going up. That's good.
yeah, well,
This week will be a critical week. I mean, to see if the market does make the large move up.
right.
That's going to be critical for the recovery. And again, I mean, just like we saw, here, and you even go back into um,
24.
24, there's at least 3 or 4 times where the correlation wasn't precise. Okay. I mean, especially as it turned out in 24, it was the actual being above the forecast. But, there are some periods there where the forecast was above the actual. So it'll be interesting to see how this year plays out. We saw a couple of peaks there where it was above, but the thing that surprised me was um, we were developing this back about a month ago. I was looking and I was seeing that the prediction that the market forecast was calling for this big drop. And sure enough, I mean, it happened. And then the fact that the actual hit pretty close to what the forecast was as the low just was amazing. But it literally, we started a back test and was looking at it day by day by day. So the drop, what I'm trying to say is that the drop that we see here was seen January 1st of this year. So it's not trying to curve match a forecast to the actual. It saw the drop on January 1st, and it's just, and I've checked it out on some other stocks, individual stocks, and it did the same thing. So the algorithm, I think, is very powerful that we've built. But to me, the test is going to be next week. Is it really going to move up as strong? Or certainly, I would think that we would see we should see a move up.
Right. By next month's meeting, we should be on
Yeah,
that
we'll know.
area where it's flattened out there.
We'll know. We'll have a better idea.
Yeah. So the question is, what's going to cause that? What's happening in the economy? That's going to cause this recovery here now in the next couple of weeks, at least the uptake. People are saying tariffs are going to do just the opposite. Well, Trump is using tariffs as a negotiating tool. Okay, he's trying to get countries to stop taxing or putting tariffs on stuff that we ship to them. So it's a back and forth. One day there are tariffs, the next day there are no tariffs. I mean, they're just reacting to his, the strategy of whatever he's trying to get accomplished. So it's something to watch. Could tariffs impact me? Of course they could. To get real, in a lot of the goods. But he's saying with Canada, there's a big deficit, trading, deficit for the U.S. And, they charge for our dairy products significant tariffs, 200% or something. And says, why are they doing that?
Because they can.
Well, they can. Okay, see, so that's and Trump says, "Oh, so can we." He says, "We don't need cars from Canada. We can build them ourselves, or from Mexico." So it's interesting. It's a negotiating tool to get things back to benefit the U.S., I think, is part of it. So we'll see what happens. Will it affect the economy, and will prices go way up again? Will it drive inflation? I don't know. So,
Okay. That's the end of our presentation for today. Anybody have any other questions? Nope.
Keep
Well-
our fingers crossed and hope for the best.
yeah.
Well, at least the forecast does show that better times are ahead. So I certainly believe that.
After watching interest over the years and everything that's gone on, I mean, we bought our house in Murray in 1980, we got 9 3/8% interest on the house and thought we'd robbed the bank because interest on new homes at that time was going at over 15%.
Yeah, right.
People don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, the new generation, I mean, if they have 7%, oh, that's high, 6%, that's high interest.
That's pretty normal, actually.
Yeah, actually
Yeah,
is
it
pretty
is.
normal, pretty good, really.
I
I have
think my, I
grandkids
think,
that got 5%, 4 and 5% rates, and they're saying that's still too much. I says, wait a second. My first one was like Bob, 8 or 10% interest. That was the norm.
That was a good deal.
Yeah. How times have changed, I guess. I don't know, but anyway.
I think my family built our house about 1969, and the interest rate was about 6.3%. So that's been my basis for it. When it went up to 15%, it's like, how can people pay that much money for it? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then when it went low to almost nothing, it's like people don't realize how great
How
that
can
is.
that be? Yeah.
I look at what rent has gone to, what people are paying
Yes.
a month for rent.
Crazy.
To me, it's unbelievable. How do they do it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
tough.
The rent, I'm in Cairo. Okay, my rent doubled at the end of my lease. It went up 100%
Wow.
2 months ago, and that's pretty common right now.
Does Egypt have a very high interest rate?
In terms of buying, I don't know what the interest rate is. I think most people don't finance because the currency itself is so unstable. People tend to put their wealth into property. And being a gringo in this environment, you're kind of seen as an ATM machine. So people are seeing the rents go up 100%. Or mine was 67% to be precise.
Hey,
Wow.
but
So what is the bank paying for interest? I mean, are they paying 4
Well,
or 5%?
it depends. My bank on a normal deposit is just like US banks because I have a dual-sided account. I have a dollar account and I have an EGP, which is the Egyptian pound, and it's like a 0.5%. If I want to put it in a CD, I just had a 1-year CD mature on the EGP side, and I was at 25%. I think I got 7% on the dollar side, but that's tying it up. And you kind of hate to do that right now because they come out with currency controls where you can't convert your money. Different worlds here for that.
Hey,
but here
Gotta move to
again,
Bitcoin.
I look at what I paid for our home in Murray and what I paid for the home here in St. George and what they're worth now, and I just shake my head in disbelief. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount they've gone up in value.
Yeah.
Even the gold coins, I am a coin collector and have been for years. And I look at what coins are at now and what they were. I mean, I've got gold coins that I paid $358 for. Look what gold's at now.
Yeah, right. It's gone up 50%, $2,000 to $3,000 an ounce.
It hit 3 this last week.
Yeah, I know. And is that the top, Bob? Tell me, we were talking about that today.
No.
no, it's not the top.
Not the top, huh?
I don't think it is.
I don't either.
Okay, well.
I'm not going out and buying gold coins though, but
Well, I'm not anymore either.
Well, right, you can cash some in.
My wife's grandfather is the guy that started the numismatic club in Utah. And I've got coin sets that I ended up with that I bought from my father-in-law. And I've got proof sets that are as old as I am. And you look at what they're worth now and you just shake your head.
Shake your head and say,
Yeah,
wow, how can
shake
that
your
be?
head.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
All right, then.
okay, guys.
Good conversation today. Thank you all for participating.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy and Ron.
And we'll see you again next month.
Okay.
And thank you to seeing everybody here, not just Tommy and Ronald, Bob and Gretchen. I like to see everybody here.
Stuck with me.
Good to see you back here, Gregory.
See you next month.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Good day.